start playing with the buttons, still trying to show that I'm useful. I have some use, not useless. And I'm just playing with the buttons and all. And he gets that fan and he's like, nothing, no birds, no bees, no flies, everybody's gone, you know, he's fanning like this, you know. Prabhupada looked at him and he nodded. And then I really shrunk down. That was like the next boom. We said that was insult after injury. They put me in my place. Pride. Pride is the great enemy to being Krishna conscious. And the spiritual master, one of their whole businesses is to smash your pride. You think you're something special. He'll show you how special you are. Special fool. You're not ordinary fool. You're first class fool. Yeah. So that was me. So he put me in my place. You think you're big deal, servant. You're nonsense, rascal. And they just went on and spoke, and I gradually recovered a little bit sitting there, and then he finished, and then walked back to his room. And I would walk back next to him, go back. But today I'm like 2 meters behind him. I couldn't even face him, Prabhupada. And some devotee comes up from behind. Oh, Prabhu, he said, Shrutakirti, you're so fortunate. He said, Prabhupada chastised you like that. Yeah, you try it, see how fortunate it is. But it is the most fortunate. I can forget so many things, but I won't forget that 5 minutes of my life with Srila Prabhupada. Huh? He never said anything again. I'll tell you one very important quality of Srila Prabhupada. He could chastise you for something, and it could be something really, really big. Like in Los Angeles, when they moved the temple room and put it in what was the, what do you call the church where all the pews were. Prabhupada loved that place. Had all the stained glass, big stained glass windows, had pews. Prabhupada told them, people can come in, they don't have to take their shoes off. He knew Westerners taking off their shoes. They didn't like that much. He said they can come sit down like gentlemen with their shoes on, sit and listen to the lectures. And after not being there for almost a year, he came back and they had moved it, took all the pews out, took all the windows out. Prabhupada was furious. He had them in tears, the management. He had them crying. And that was it. It was done. He said it once, never said it again. He went into the temple room, looked at the paintings up on the ceiling. Everything was fine. And I can tell you, Prabhupada would chastise you, but he never brought it up again. You were chastised for it, you learn, and you move on. I say, you know, women have that red dot. You know what that is? It's a record button. And they never forget. You did that 25 years ago. Put me in so much anxiety, you did. Now, Prabhupada didn't bring up the past, your past mistakes. He just moved on. If you did it again, he would say something again. But he always encouraged you. He didn't make you feel bad. Initially, he could, to teach you. His business was teaching us, training us, chastising us. He said that's the business of Guru, to chastise. And that false ego. Once devotee asked Prabhupada, Lord Chaitanya never says anything about taking initiation. What did Prabhupada quote from Lord Chaitanya? Trinadapi sunichena. He said one has to take initiation to become humble. You have to be told what to do. Huh? Like this farcical way they have now. I've accepted Prabhupada. Well, we had that today. Has Prabhupada studied you for a year? You've studied him maybe very nicely, but has he studied you for the last year? You think you can take initiation from him? Doesn't work like that. You have to have living guru to chastise. With us, it was just for a few years, some 5 years, some 1 year, but it was there. And he set up a system also of management. So what he wanted would be implemented. So he said that means you take initiation from guru. He said that's what it means, Trinadapi Sunichena. More humble than the blade of grass. You know how humble the blade of grass is? So when you step on grass, what happens when you take your foot up? The grass pops up. More humble means you don't pop up. That's more humble than the blade of grass, he said. So humble one must become. So that was some of the experiences there in Vrindavan. Then I had something that went back, way back to New Vrindavan, now it's October, November 72. So I learned when I became his servant, Prabhupada changed his Brahmin thread every Ekadasi. So twice a month he changed the Brahmin thread. They do that on the altar in Vrindavan. Every month they change the deities' Brahmin threads, or every Ekadasi. So I was told to do that. It was very simple. I would just put Brahmin thread on his table, and Prabhupada came in. Now I'm watching him because I thought, I want Prabhupada's Brahmin thread. And there was a very good reason, not that I just wanted it. When Prabhupada gave me a Brahmin thread in May 72 in Los Angeles. So we go back to New Vrindavan. In New Vrindavan, we didn't have bathrooms. We didn't have bathrooms. We had open latrine. You threw lime in there. Yeah, the woods. And we had, at Bahulaban, there was a creek that went through, and I would bathe in the creek in the morning. So I have to prepare the deities' plates before Mangal Artik. So on certain mornings, like you see here, if there's no moon, it's very dark. You have a full moon, you can see your shadow. It's, much brighter. So one early morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, I guess, I'm at the creek and throwing water, a bucket of water over my head and everything. And then I go and I dress, put on my tilak, and I go into the kitchen. I make the deities' plates. Radha Vrindavan Chandra make their plates. And then I put their plates on the altar. I go outside in front of the curtain to sit down. I say the prayers, and I go to say Gayatri. And my Brahmin thread's gone, disappeared. Well, probably went down the creek while I was bathing in the dark one morning. Anyway, it was gone. And of course, that was a very bad omen. I saw that as, I'm finished. My whole spiritual life is finished. And I remember going to Kirtanananda, literally in tears. Prabhupada's Brahmin thread he gave me just a week ago, it's gone. I said, that just means I have no sincerity. Now, of course, Kirtanananda, he was very expert. I said, no, he said, it's just, things happen and make you a new Brahmin thread. It's not just the thread. He had all these reasons he gave me and all. He made a thread for me, and again, I'm chanting Gayatri. But what we see, like with Prabhupada, he never took his thread off. If I gave him a massage, he would drop it. You see, there's photos, you'll see the thread around his waist, the Brahmin thread. And you change it when you put the new one on. You put them together, you say Gayatri, so you transfer it. So to me, it seemed kind of important, So now, May, June, July, August, September, 5, 6 months later, I thought, ooh, I can get Prabhupada's Brahmin thread. See, I was very, not very forthright. I could have said it to Prabhupada, perhaps, and he would have said, oh, don't worry, or he would have chanted on it. Anything could have happened. But I was always sneaky. Prabhupada knew I was sneaky. So anyway, I put the thread on the table in that day, special day. And Prabhupada's, I'm on the veranda and the doors are open, and Prabhupada, I'm watching him put his tilak on, then he gets the new thread, puts it with the old, and he says Gayatri mantra, thinking, all right, as soon as he's out of the room, I'm going to take that old thread. He says Gayatri, and he's finished. I'm on the veranda chanting, anxiously waiting, and he walks out the door. I offer obeisances, and he stops right in front. I can see his lotus feet right in front of my head as I'm offering obeisances. And he stops, so I finish and I look up. He said, that Brahmin thread, he said, you can bury it under the Tulsi plant. I said, yes, Prabhupada. But I'm still not going to listen. I wasn't going to listen. So I go in and I thought, all right, I grab Prabhupada's thread, I go back on the veranda. He's in the kitchen, he's taking prasadam, so he's somewhere else. I grab the thread and I'm ready to put it on with my thread. He cut or broke every thread on his Brahmin thread. I gave him, I don't know how many threads, 30, 40 threads, never did it again. That one day, he cut his Brahmin thread because he knew what I was doing. He knew what my plan was. I didn't have to tell him. He knew. When you're with him, he knows everything. Everything you're thinking, saying, scary. So he knew. So I'm sitting there, and I tie all the threads together. I was so determined it couldn't not happen, so I put all the threads together and I put it on and I said Gayatri with it, and so that was October 1972. Anyway, Prabhupada never brought it up. I certainly wouldn't bring it up to Prabhupada. And it was 1972, so now it's I'm trying to think, it was 30 years later. So what's that make? It was 2000, it was 2005 it was. I'm in Mayapur. 2005, I'm in Mayapur. And we went there for a big Gaur Purnima festival. Thousands of devotees are there this time. And they had a pandal, nice big pandal. One of the features was Prabhupada Katha was going on many hours a day. So my godbrothers, myself, were taking different spots and speaking. And so I'm up there one day and I'm speaking some Prabhupada Katha, just like we're doing here. And then I finished, and I go and chairs are there just like this. Must have been 20 chairs across, going 10 rows deep or more. And there's mosquitoes everywhere. It's like 7, 8 in the evening. Big mosquitoes are going on. And so I sat by myself. There wasn't a lot of people there. I sat by myself in a chair. And about 10 chairs away from me, there's a godbrother. And he's going, because I had told this story. So he's like, he said, do you know who I am? I said, I could see. I said, you're, godbrother. I said, you're living here in my, he says, yeah. He said, Padma Garbha. His name was Padma Garbha. He passed away many years ago. He said, you need some mosquito repellent? I said, sure. He said, do you remember? I said, remember what? He said, well, 1975, he said, you were Prabhupada's servant, weren't you? I said, yeah. He said, you were here with him that time? I said, yes. He said, well, I got Brahmin initiation during that time. He said, do you remember what happened? I said, no. I said, what happened? He said, well, you were outside Prabhupada's room, and you had the threads, the Brahmin threads in your hand. And normally what you did, opening a Brahmin thread, it can drive you crazy, right? You grab those two little, If you don't do it properly, you can entangle it to the point, big frustration. It's happened to me more than once. So he said, you don't remember what happened? I'm like, no, what happened? He said, well, you gave me the thread. He said, but you just handed it to me. He said it was still wrapped. He said, and of course, I'm going into Prabhupada's room. He said, I'm very nervous, everything. He said, and I had the thread, and he didn't know what to do with it, and he's trying to separate it. He said, but immediately, he said, it became tangled up. He said, and another devotee, Prabhupada's secretary, was in the room. He said, so I turned to him and asked him for help. He said, and Prabhupada yelled, take it to Shruta Kirti. He knows what to do. From 1972, Prabhupada was talking. Bring it to me. I'm very expert with Brahmin threads. I can tie, I can do anything. So Prabhupada, again, gave me little. This was Prabhupada. Never forgot anything, and he could bring it up like it was yesterday. He said, take it to Shruta. No, he told him, not him. He said, bring it to Shruta Kirti outside the room. He's expert with Brahmin threads. So that was 1975. But I didn't get to hear it until 2005. So to me, this shows Guru was there. He's not somewhere gone. He's always there. He's seeing everything. He can say anything. And he can make a joke last 30 years. He's made jokes last 3 years with me. No problem. 3 years. I was massaging him. Again, this is 1973. I'm giving massage at night. And at night, Prabhupada would sit up. And his legs would be out. And mainly you massaged his legs and his lotus feet. Sometimes he would lie down. If he was lying down, and I'd go around to his feet, and I'd be massaging his feet, and I'd look and see if his eyes were closed, and I'd put my head on his feet. You can never get enough of the mercy of the spiritual master. It says 3 things, 3 very special blessings you can get from the spiritual master in 3 ways. You know what they are? The dust of his feet, the water from bathing his feet, and his Maha Prasadam. Those 3 things, very special mercy you can get from the spiritual master. So everyone's thinking, I'm with Prabhupada Massage, you get so much mercy. But even you're getting mercy, you want more mercy. So every now and then I would just touch my head to his feet, massaging them. Because eyes were closed. And just like lunchtime, when you massaged them, you didn't decide how long you were going to do it. There's no clock like we have here, right? 1 hour means 1 hour, 55 minutes, whatever it might be. But with him, you just massaged until he went, okay. Sometimes at nighttime, I would be literally tired. It'd be 11 o'clock at night. And I'd be massaging, sometimes a little drowsy. But you just kept going and going, massaging. Sometimes I would squeeze him, his legs, just to make sure he knew I was still there. He always knew you're there, and he's very happy. The more pressure you give, the happier he was, so he wasn't upset with it. And then he'd go, okay, take rest. Then you could leave. But one time I'm massaging his legs, and he put his hand out. He said, do the fingers. And his hand's out like this, so I grab his fingers. And he said, no, the fingers. And he started wiggling his toes. It's the same word, right, in Hindi? Fingers and toes, same word, I think. No? No? Anyway, he kept saying his fingers. So finally I grabbed his toes. So it's 2 years went by. One night I'm in the bedroom, I'm massaging, and he did the same thing. Stuck his hand out. He said, do the fingers. I don't even remember what happened 2 years ago. I grab his fingers. He goes, no, the fingers. And he's smiling. The fingers, do the fingers. This was Prabhupada. so wonderful to be with. I saw one side of Prabhupada. I didn't see that lion. I saw it, but I would attend that. But in his room, most wonderful person in his room, Prabhupada. Told you he'd take a nap after lunch. And it was generally the same. One day it was Hawaii. Guru Kripa and I are in the room after lunch. Prabhupada's sitting in the bed, getting ready to take a nap. And he's talking to us, talking. And then he says, just started talking. And then he stopped. And he just, in one movement, he grabbed the sheet and laid down and pulled the cover over his head. Didn't say anything. Just laid down, grabbed the cover, put it over his head. So you knew it was time to go. And Guru Kripa and I, we just looked at each other. Like, who is this person, you know? He's like such a character, you know? Everything he did, it was juicy. Everything he did, it just made you so excited. He did the same thing in Mayapur. It was just me in his room, in the bedroom, after lunch. And he's sitting, and he was talking a little something, and he says to me, I hate sleep. He said, I hate sleep. He said, it's just a waste of time. He said, I don't ever want to sleep, just wasting my time. And then he grabbed the sheet, pulled it over his head, and that was it. Yeah. It wasn't just, you know, he didn't have just like one idea, one emotion. It could be everywhere at the same time. And then just like a little boy, he was like I said, childlike. He had this wonderful innocence. And everything he did just made you more attached, which is what it was automatic. What he wanted to do, to become attached. But with that attachment, you do service. This was our business. He just wanted to engage us in service. So that was the Brahmin thread there in Vrindavan. So we were there for a month, and Prabhupada would regularly speak about his Western Vaishnavas. He wanted everyone to see, all those Goswamis, everyone. He wanted to see, these are perfect Vaishnavas. Told you, he'd say, this devotee, his father's a millionaire. Would you go back? No, Prabhupada, just see, you know. Told you, Hayagriva, English professor. Hayagriva would laugh. He wasn't a big English, he was an English teacher. He said, Prabhupada made everything when he wanted to impress others, his disciples. But he knew going to Vrindavan, he wanted to show them. You know, when we were in Vrindavan, they were very happy back then. They were poor, all those shopkeepers. They didn't have anything, little shops. When we went there, money started flowing in. And you would buy something and they'd go, put the money on the table. In other words, they didn't want directly for you to hand it to them because we're malechas. Our money wasn't, but we were. They're happily taking the money, but they wouldn't, if we could, they wouldn't take Mahaprasadam from our hands. Until, as I remember, we'll end here too. In 75, Prabhupada, we know he brought the Brahmins from the south. He brought the Brahmins to come and do the ceremony, so that everyone will be placated, all the Goswamis would accept it. It was bona fide. Us, he said, all we have to do is chant Hare Krishna. So many installations, buckets, pots from the kitchen, ladles from the kitchen. We didn't have nice conch shells and, you know, all the ceremony and rituals and chanting this mantra, that mantra, doing mudras. None of this was going on. But here, Prabhupada wanted everything first class, so we were accepted. But he tested the Brahmins. There were different ones that were coming, different groups. So the first one, Prabhupada asked them, and he made inquiries, questioned them, how are you going to do this, how are you going to do this, how you do this. And then at the end, he said, okay, so, you know, sit down, we'll all take prasadam. Of course, they said, oh, we're busy. We have to go do this now. We have to go do something in this. So they refused. So then the next group came in. Prabhupada went through the same procedure. Then at the end he said, okay, we'll take prasadam. He said, they prepared prasadam. And they said, yes. Prabhupada took them. So that's, he wanted to see who actually accepted us as devotees, as Krishna. So as soon as he saw that, they would take the prasadam. Then he said, okay, we can use this group. And Prabhupada, he was our greatest, as he said, your ever well-wisher. And when they said what quality I liked, I told you humor, but the biggest quality was loyalty. Most important thing you can give to your guru. He's accepting you eternally. Our business is to remain chaste to our guru, to be loyal. It may sound easy, but go to Vrindavan, you'll see how so many things grabbing, poaching Prabhupada's followers. There's people with their beards and long matted hairs and everything, and ooh, this is higher level. Nonsense, nonsense. Only thing we have is our chastity. It's the most important quality. It's our chastity we can give to our spiritual master. He's brought you here, Srila Prabhupada, through his disciples. Most important thing is just remain faithful. It's giving you eternal life. What can we do in return? To give our loyalty to him. All right, we have a few minutes left. Hare Krishna.
If you don't mind, I have a question from yesterday. It's a bit controversial.
Sure.
So, yesterday you were saying that Prabhupada spent time to re-record as if he was recording on the dictaphone, and he'd go back 5-10 seconds to re-record something, to reword it how he wants. And then he said later that Prabhupada said, don't change even one letter, don't change anything I gave you. So then why are Prabhupada's books getting changed, and what do they change? Because I had a sangha one time, and one of the ladies there was saying that she had one of the older versions of the Bhagavatam. And Prabhupada
The 1972 edition, yes.
Prabhupada would say Vishnu, and now they all say Supreme Personality of Godhead, so I just wondering.
Yeah, I don't have a good answer to that question. I heard Prabhupada talk about change way too many times to accept changes in anything, especially his books. It's funny, all the times I speak, no one ever asks me that question. I try to avoid getting into that area. Otherwise, I could be banned from ISKCON. So, but yeah, it's a very good question. And I haven't even read all of the different things. Probably Madhavananda Prabhu. He would be a better person, or your Guru Maharaj to answer that question. But for me, hearing Prabhupada's words was the most important thing. And he did say every word was chosen so carefully. We know, of course, he did have editors. I mean, you can see the Bhagavatam that he came with from India, and the first canto, after it was edited, certainly had grammar. What did Prabhupada say? He had certain words he used. It could be done. But yes, it's a question. I don't have a good answer for it because I just don't. That's all I can say. I can't justify it. Let's say I can't justify. We know there were some very big mistakes in there. There was a period of time when I was married before my wife died, Amekala, what's his name, Ekanath, would send me the audios of his lectures. They're still lectures. They're not even printed yet because they have to be transcribed and they have to be edited for content. And they were transcribed, but then they had to be checked because you don't know who transcribed them or what they knew or when it was done. And so many mistakes were in there because I had a good ear for Prabhupada's voice, you know, and you could put the headphones on and I could hear everything we could say, and I would see mistakes that were there. And some of them were glaring mistakes. I mean, it could change everything, like we know the planet of the trees, you know, for the pit trees. And so there were some obvious things. I mean, I will say that there were a number of mistakes that could have been corrected, and no one would have said anything. But the volume of things that were done certainly called into question. You know, certainly would call things into question. Is that an okay answer? Otherwise, what do you think, Prabhuji? He's very scholarly, wonderful, fixed-up devotee, a Govinda Maharaj disciple. Maybe he has comment.
I would look at it in a social perspective. The books are the basis of the society. And it's a controversy, obviously. Different devotees have different feelings. And if you don't want to enter, I really don't want to enter into it. But what I think is really important is that there should be a consensus. And to achieve a consensus, there needs to be nice discussion.
Yeah.
About it. Because I don't think that all the editors were evil either. I know most of them.
Had good intentions. Of course, you know what they say about good intentions. Thank you. I'm sorry I can't do better, but I hope that answers at least my feelings on the subject matter. Yes?
So you mentioned we should have chastity, we should have Prabhupada. And nowadays I kind of see a growing pattern where there's many other, as you also mentioned, there's many other people in Vrindavan that give wonderful classes in kathas and the rest. And my fear is, I have young children, and I kind of see the pattern that we're losing our taste for Srila Prabhupada in our generation. And I was just wondering if you could give any advice to ignite the flame within ourselves, but if there was any advice that I could use to ignite the flame within my children.
Yeah, my time with Prabhupada, one thing I heard over and over again from myself and others, we didn't go anywhere. You know, you know, after 77, those that have thought going here or there was okay because Prabhupada said supposedly certain things at the very end, which was necessary. Any Vaishnava is always going to say, ask forgiveness for any offenses I made in this way, in this way, in this way. Even his wife, he said, he mentioned his wife, you know, he made offenses to her by saying, so that's natural. But you got to look again at the body of work. Prabhupada, I'll tell you one story back in LA, because I went there several times. I had friends in Los Angeles. We went there so often, you know, Grahasta friends, Brahmachari friends, whatever. And they harassed me. Oh, you don't come to Mangal Artik. No one ever told me I couldn't go to Mangal Artik. I knew I had to be there for Prabhupada. That's all I knew. I told you there was no handbook of personal servants. So they kept saying, oh, come to Mangal Artik. Does Prabhupada ever call you? 4:30 in the morning? I'm like, no. Well, come to Mangal Artik. Bhardaraj is leading kirtan, and Agni Dev is leading kirtan, and Parikshit, all these big, wonderful devotees. And Rukmini Dwarkadish is there, and Gaurnitai and Jagannath deities. Come to Mangal Artik. So finally I went. Once. And it's about 10 minutes in the Mangal Artik. And I get a tap on the shoulder from behind. It's Prajumna. Prabhupada wants to see you now. I thought, that's it, I'm done. I knew it immediately. So I ran back up to the room, left the Mangal Artik, left the room, and I go and I'm offering obeisances to Prabhupada. He doesn't wait for me to finish. I've been ringing this bell for hours. Where were you? I said, oh, Prabhupada, I went to Mangal Arti. You have no business going to Mangal Arti. Your business is to be in that room 24 hours a day. What if I need something? I know it. I already knew it, but I let these devotees convince me of what I shouldn't be doing. I knew it. He said, that's your business, to be in the room 24 hours a day. What if I need something? For hours, he said. I was gone for 10 minutes. But Prabhupada had Lord Brahma time. He had different time scale. You know, 5 seconds was like 5 years to him. If you were late for 5 seconds, you were late a whole lifetime to Prabhupada, he would tell you. So that was my experience. And it was a few years later, we're in Vrindavan. It's 1974 when Prabhupada had been sick, and myself, Kaladri was there at that time. He was helping. We were taking care of Prabhupada every day, 24 hours a day, day after day after day. And then I got malaria. I recovered from that. And one day, Prabhupada rang the bell. And I went into the room, and he said, get Kaladri. I went and got Kaladri. I came back. He said, you're just like 2 Brahmin boys. He said, here in Vrindavan. He said, go to the Jamuna and take bath. He said, spend the day at the Jamuna. He literally told us we were allowed to leave. Go to the, and we went to the Jamuna and we smeared clay all over our bodies and we just laid there. But it's the only time we ever left. I'm so conditioned. I've been in Vrindavan 5 years. You know how many temples I've been to in Vrindavan? 1. Krishna Balaram Mandir. Prabhupada called me one day there, 75. Where's my secretary? I said, oh, Prabhupada, he went, you know, to visit temple, Madan Mohan, whatever, this temple, that temple. So then later, when he came back, Prabhupada rang the bell. So where is he? So I brought him in. Prabhupada said, this is your home, Krishna Balaram Mandir. This is your home. He said, I put all the holy places in the courtyard of the Krishna Balaram Mandir. You don't need to go anywhere. So if you want to go somewhere, you're talking to the wrong person. Because I don't go anywhere. It's all I have. I don't have any good qualities. But that one I have. I won't go anywhere. And I went one day, I went to Radha Damodar temple where Prabhupada's eternally residing, and I only went there to bring a god brother who hadn't been there. I don't even go there. I'm like afraid. So what do I have? If I don't have that, I've got nothing. You can wander all over the place very nicely, you know. So many tours going on, and that's okay. Prabhupada organized that too. But there's a purpose. When you go, you have to hear from it. Not just you wander around and visit this place, no, everywhere you go, you should be with someone. My wife told me, Prabhu Vishnu told her, anywhere you go in Vrindavan, you go with Prabhupada disciple, you don't go at all. These are the kind of people, I see. They have chastity to Srila Prabhupada. And I respect them. Like I say, I see Chandramali Maharaj, Radhanath Maharaj. As soon as they see somebody that had association with Prabhupada, personal, very happy to grab you, just to be around you and hear something. And I think that attachment to Srila Prabhupada, most important thing. Most important thing. So when you have that 1 year to study your guru, you study him very well to see if he has that quality, that attachment to Srila Prabhupada. Otherwise, you know, that's our business. Prabhupada would say to all who was with him, you were with me, you know what to do. He said it to me many times. In Hawaii, I finally got to be president. Prabhupada said, yes, he was with me. He said, you can trust him. Because 2 previous presidents took money and left. But he said, you can trust Ruta Kirti. One of the most wonderful things he said in the letter, I could be trusted. And I could. I don't want anything. Nothing. Only want to give. All right. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Chandramali Maharaj ki jai.